Why don't Muslims vote in Canada? The truth is they vote more and more, and they're voting Liberal. But the CBC wants to pretend that they don't vote, and so they do a discussion, a 1 hour long discussion on why Muslims don't vote, in order to try to make the Muslims vote even more than they do. So about this program, I'll play along. The CBC wants to know why the Muslim turnout is low on voting day. They're concerned, you see, because Muslim votes would be Liberal votes, would they not? Why not do a call-in show over the radio to see what the problem is? What happens then? I took some notes as the broadcast proceeded. This was an episode of Ontario Today sometime shortly before the federal election in the fall of 2015. The host had a guest drop in to help cheer on the Muslims and to encourage them all the way to the voting booth. She popped into the discussion every time a Muslim was less than exuberant about voting, which was often. 10 callers were received during the 1 hour program. 9 of them were Muslim. 1 was a virtually unknown Liberal candidate. Here is how it all went down. The first caller was against voting because Canada was at war with ISIS. The second caller voiced the same concern, though it was stated more generally. The third caller was the Liberal candidate, who said he agreed with the first 2 callers. That's what he said. The fourth caller admitted to voting variously, but was careful to affirm a hatred for Harper and an approval of the war against ISIS. The fifth caller said he was a voter, but that he found Harper to be anti-Muslim. Caller number 6 was a voter, but against warmonger Harper, he called him. This caller was concerned about the language barrier that Muslims face in Canada. The barrier was a roadblock to voting, the caller complained. Caller 7 admitted to being a voter, but was quick to add that Islam forbids Muslims to vote in a system that is not Islamic. The 8th caller was a voter, but stated that he believed the barrier to be that Muslims falsely believe that it is wrong for Muslims to vote. The 9th caller was a voter who railed against Harper's foreign policy and was upset about his position on the niqab and his hard words against jihadi terrorists. The 10th and final caller was a voter as well. This one stated that Muslims are more engaged in policies abroad, by which he meant that they are more attached to their countries of origin, which are Muslim. Which begs the question, why don't they just leave or not come here at all? The Liberal candidate being against any hard sentiment toward jihadi Muslims is no surprise. No further comment necessary on that. In summary, only 1 Muslim out of 9 approved an aggressive stance against ISIS. 5 did not approve. That is, of course, scary, because if you're a Muslim who is not against ISIS, should that not make us wonder if you're a Muslim who is for ISIS? Barbarians are out to cut the heads off of anyone who is not Muslim or not Muslim enough. If it is not just to go to war against such people, then I guess nothing would qualify as a just war in the minds of some people. Another interesting gleaning concerns the complaint about the language barrier. If the free language programs that we offer to immigrants are not making immigrants fluent enough to cast a ballot, then we should wonder if these programs are not just make-work projects for teachers who get paid for poor results. Such programs might be a tax burden that benefit Canada very little. Isn't it right to expect immigrants to learn the language of the people whose country they want to profit from? If your English is so broken and halting that you cannot get through the process of casting a ballot, you have not been assimilated. Assimilation should be mandatory for all immigrants who want to be Canadian citizens, should it not? Maybe the most interesting comments were the ones about it not being lawful for a Muslim to vote. When you come from a country that dictates who your leader will be and when the Quran is your guidebook, voting in a democracy will seem strange and improper. Observe the following difference. The New Testament assumes that a Christian will reside where the magistrate will not be Christian, and it urges Christians to pray for peace and justice to reign. The Quran commands its followers to obtain power in the name of Allah by violent means and to maintain power by suppression. If one letter represents 10 opinions, or perhaps even 100 or more, the same might be the case regarding callers. Well, 5 Muslim callers out of 9 opposed any opposition to ISIS. How many ISIS sympathizers do we have in Canada, do you think? I think many. Here is a blend of deductions from the foregoing information and my opinions based on other research that I've done. Many of our Muslim citizens are okay with ISIS and they secretly approve of or support terrorism. Many of them are too attached to their dictatorial origins to want to learn our language or to cast a vote. Many of them prefer Sharia law to democracy, coups to elections, and imams to politicians. Many of them are quiet regarding any position on ISIS and terrorism in general. When insurgencies begin to come on strong, they cheer, on the inside when standing before old stock Canadians, and on the outside when standing before Allahu Akbar devotees. Warfare is ordained for you, it says in Surah 2, verse 216 of the Quran. Fighting, to the informed adherent of Islam, is the passageway to a better world. So it says in Surah 4, verse 74. Islam is a religion of war. War to Muslims is regarded as a gateway to Allah's paradise. Many Muslim citizens of Canada, as ignorant as they are about their Islamic heritage and their unholy book, have learned at least that much. They are so steeped in the primitive Islamic mindset that they hesitate to say a disparaging word about the most violent groups of human beings that the world has ever been cursed to support. Some Canadian Muslims are afraid to speak out against their bloodthirsty brethren, though they would like to. But many others are in love with the prospect of Islamic power in Canada, even if it means that Canada could become a war-torn state just like the one they came to Canada to escape from. Liberals want change because deficit, corruption, and the progress of immorality are attributes that they're most comfortable with. Muslims want change because they've never been able to get comfortable with the idea of a peaceful society. Liberals and Muslims deserve each other, and conservatives are stuck with both of them. Liberals kiss Muslims to court their vote and donations from Arabia. Muslims kiss their own and give others the Judas kiss. Are these hard words? If you are a Muslim, why not disprove me by renouncing your Quran that calls for tyranny? Coming to Canada or to any democracy as a Muslim is hypocritical. Either stay in a country that implements your Quranic laws or renounce your faith and come on over. You can't be a practicing Muslim and democratic at the same time. The Quran forbids it. Be true to your faith or give it up for something better. Some Muslims like it when they get here because it strikes them as a sudden relief to not fear rape moment by moment and to not have to dodge bullets daily. But after they've been at peace for a while, with no one to rob them, molest them, intimidate them, or kill one of their family members, they begin to yearn for the old comfortable ways of oppression, lashings, blood feuds, and beheadings.